Hi, Gail. Hi,
Hi,
Gail. Guess
Scott.
we're here for another radio show excursion into Never Never Land.
Yes, the free range. I was just telling you about an experience that I had in meditation that was absolutely awesome. And what happened was I had these. All of a sudden, I saw this stream of colors going in, like this kind of snake-like almost, and then it went into a ball, and it was a golden ball, and it's set on a pedestal, and it had all these colors in it, and it was like I was seeing the seat of my soul. It was absolutely awesome.
Well, yeah, you just remembered that now, I guess, after all this time.
Well, no, I've had that. I didn't. I just didn't tell you about it. It was an awesome experience. I'm going.
Why didn't you tell me about it? You're just waiting for the right time to.
Yeah. Yes, I guess so.
But you should probably show people right now I sent you the JPEG of it that goes on the front cover of the Emerald Doorway book. This is what an Atma or soul really looks like. Hold it up a little higher because they can't see but the bottom of it. Back it up a little bit. Back towards you. Towards you.
Oh, okay.
There we go. Getting quite a reflection, but they can see. It has a white core. This is an energy which is not nuclear. It's not atomic in nature. It's before that, behind it. And it has layers of teardrop-shaped lights from, just like through the color spectrum, it breaks down in a prism.
It was awesome that I saw this, and all the colors were going and led right into the circular, the spherical Etna.
That's right. They all move in and out of that. So most people on Earth don't grow up like they do in many other worlds where children and people are taught, given the experience, maintained and re-encouraged to have the experience of what they are that isn't physical. Mm-hmm. And children are born and come into those lives knowing where they came from before that life, what are their life, how it's conscious. On Earth, it's all unconscious. And people on Earth think that's normal and it's God's will, and everybody else on the world in the universe is like that. This is not true. Earth is a unique situation. It's not the only backward world in the sense that people don't know what they are. They think they're bodies. They think they're genetics. They don't understand that these were experiments, these human bodies and others, designs when they're not messed with and not manipulated, the genomes on the DNA, so to handle higher faculties of the being that runs a body so they can express higher capabilities through it, to have tactile sensation in the physical universe on any plane or any dimension. That experiment goes back many billions of years. So human beings did not originate on Earth, not in this form, not ever. And they didn't even originate in the Milky Way galaxy. Human beings were gradually brought into this state of capability genetically a long time ago. So the real history of planet Earth is unknown to people because human beings came here from other worlds originally in colonizations, usually after the poles of this planet flip overnight, every 100,000 years. They did until recently. That event is so catastrophic, whole continents sink until they become the bottom of the oceans, and the oceans rise up to form new continents. It's a violent affair that takes place in 24 hours.
That's what's amazing, that it could happen that quickly.
Oh, that's because of the event that this solar system passes through as it journeys around the galaxy. And until recently, 7 years ago or so, the poles were destined to flip again. Should have already happened.
We should be dead already then.
Right. And that's been permanently stopped. Not from people on Earth, but by outside energies and beings that run the mechanics of creation. That's a whole other part of my work in helping people understand that. The radio shows like this little one we do, or the one I do with Perry, they're not primetime radio shows or coast to coast at night. I've been on that show with George Nuri, 3-hour live show some few years ago now. And it's good. But these little radio shows are designed to help people recover what they've been made to forget. It couldn't be put simpler. I mean what they've been made to forget before they were even incarnated on this planet. About the other dimensions, who they are as a being, what the most advanced extraterrestrial races call the Atma, what people on Earth call soul. An Atma is spherical shape, energy. It is not a human body. The true human being, the Hu, first part of the word human, was something beings used to know how to chant or send out to connect to the primordial first word behind creation as beings, not as bodies. It's not the body and the brain that sends out this communication. It's the spherical Atma running the body that sends that out. It's telepathic. Human bodies are not telepathic. Human brains are not telepathic. The Atma, the real being, is.
That's a big difference right there. That's important to know.
And if beings knew what they were, they could be married or have kids, but they would know who the children are. And the children know who they are when they're big and have mature bodies. They never forget the mature side of their journey through eternity in billions of years. The purpose for the existence of the Atma, or what people think is a human being, is to one day be a trustworthy co-creator with the source itself. Not God that you worship, way beyond that, higher than that. That's just tyrants pretending to be the supreme source that demand worship. In the 4 lower dimensions where positive and negative energies, Maya, illusion, run. Our job is to come into those lower dimensions, find new ways of doing things from experience, and take it back above the void, known to most Buddhist monks, and deliver it so that that supreme source, if you want to call it supreme, I don't, because it sounds like a tyrant.
In a hierarchy.
Supreme being, thou shalt worship me, I shall send a lightning bolt up your ass. No. The actual source, when people return to it, as I have and do all the time, never, ever suggested or encouraged that we worship it. No, and I'll tell you why. It's like worshiping your own ego. The white core of the Atma is comprised of an energy, like a drop out of a mighty ocean of pure energy that is the source, made of the same thing as the source, and has direct communication with that whole ocean.
Wow.
We're meant to go back to that source and provide insights into what we've learned from our excursions over countless lifetimes in not just the physical universe in physical bodies, but the emotional plane, the astral, the causal, the mental, and etheric, all below the void that divides the upper worlds from the lower. A multi-dimensional universe. The nature of the Atma is multi-dimensional. It means that it is comprised of an energy that is not material. It's not emotional. It's not mental. It is something that existed before all that was brought into creation. That also means that each one of us as a being, though people on earth have been made to forget all about this, and not with their consent, mind you, is that we have always been, each and every one of us, a drop from the source itself. And that existed before time and space was created. So how old are you?
Ancient.
Cannot possibly compare it to physical time and space. I know it's difficult for people to hear this or understand it, but when they hear it for the first time, even on earth, something stirs within the depth of their being. And they begin to start some way or another to remember. Hello, Michael. Got to call you back. I'm on a radio show with Gail. I'll call you as soon as I'm done. There goes the phone down the hall.
Was that the Michael?
There goes the cell phone down the hall. And
now watch mine will go off.
Well, I forgot, but I try to keep them out of here until I'm done. Okay, and I forgot this time or I wouldn't have that interruption, but Michael's a good buddy, but I just can't talk with him now. We're on doing a radio show.
No, I like Michael too.
Michael's good people. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Where were we?
To know or remember what you are, that isn't a physical body, is the reason and purpose to a large extent for existing. It's just part of it. It's assumed that you already do know that. Of course, people on Earth no longer know that. In one lifetime or another, on one planet or another, before they were compelled to come here against their will and incarnate with no memory, which happened to everybody on this planet, by the way. Royal families, classified people, the so-called common man and woman. They don't remember who they are. They have concepts about soul and eternity. They've got some saviors sometimes they can worship, or the supreme being that's an abstract that they worship because they've been told if they don't, they're going to hell or some other silly thing. And they're very afraid of getting out of their body. They do it every night when they go to sleep. Every night, but they don't bring back the awareness they're doing it because they're not trained growing up on this planet that any of that is real. So they don't use their higher faculties to bring back the awareness of what they're doing. Tyrants take advantage of that in order to keep and to disseminate what you would call misinformation along with truth and mix it up on the internet and out in the world news media so that everybody stays in doubt about anything. They're not sure they know anything at all.
That is a primary program. I deal with that all the time. Every time I experience doubt, I think about what you've said.
Yeah, because the more conscious you are of this, the more you're protected from being influenced by it. Because those things are designed to keep subconscious implant negative programs, terrorizing programs, that are put into an artificially created subconscious mind. That's an energy field around the Atma, not the brain or the body. In other words, tyrants, very advanced from other worlds, cannot control, or even in the higher planes below the void, can't destroy or harm the Atma itself. It's not made of lower plane energy. It cannot be destroyed with hydrogen bombs or rays or anything. But if it has body forms in the lower worlds that can be tortured or killed, it can be made or convinced to use its higher faculties to trap itself in the belief that it's a body. And then their energy can be used. They can be used as slaves. And the next step is to shut down some of the higher genomes on the DNA of human beings captured out in space or from other worlds, so that they live an 80 or 100-year life instead of the normal 1,000 or more they do in other worlds. And then a tyrant race that's jealous of all this, that can't create, that are tyrants, can capture them and then implant them, create a subconscious mind. The Atma looks through this field of energy that's like colored pictures, terrorizing things, so it looks at the universe, the multiverse, and gets distorted information about everything. Particularly, it gets terrorized if it tries to remember who it is. The implants affect the nervous system of a body. If a being's convinced they're a body, when they start feeling fear or terror, it's a program that's turning on, usually stimulated from some outside influence that's negative. And that plays on the nervous system. But the clever part of it is the sight and sound of the terror that you're being subjected to, which was history, no longer present time, plays, but without the sight and sound on. In other words, it's occluded. All you do is feel the terror emotionally.
That makes so much sense, because there are times when I feel this stirring inside of me, and it's very...
It's just a program, and the way you neutralize is not sit there and go, oh, I'm terrorized, I can't. Stop what you're doing. Go into the hue. You send it to whatever you feel the source of this suffering and terror is, and it'll shut it off. The only way people are going to find out if this is true is by applying it, getting off their ass, and doing it for themselves for their own benefit.
I have to tell you,
if you can remember to do it.
I have done that.
When the primary implant turns on, it blocks your higher faculties of reason, because nothing of a negative emotional state or charge or imagination, nothing of that will function with the higher faculties or the hue, the pure, omnipresent living energy that supports all life. It's neutral. It doesn't take sides. It just supports all life, good or bad. And when you imagine into it, which is not done in the brain of the human body, when you send an imagination of any kind into this force, you're made of the same thing. It co-creates with what you imagine, good or bad.
So it better be good, right?
So tyrants want to get you to be in fear and think negatively, mostly about your future, your own personal future and the future of the planet. If they can keep you in fear of that, then tyrants on or off world can control you. Once you rise above that by understanding what was done to you and being able to accept it, it won't work as long as revenge and hatred and anger are still in play towards the beings that did this to you, whether they were religious figures or somebody pretending to be God, and even on another world. It's usually some tyrant alien race pretending that. And then that won't work. So when you first recover, when a person first recovers what they are as a being, not a body, they have almost immediately they begin to realize they need to drop all those negative emotions, because it'll just send you right back into being implanted again and trapped. Once you drop that, then you have access to the core source itself, prime creator, directly through the being connects to it telepathically, and you start to work your way back out of all this unconsciousness. You begin to be drawn back home to deliver what you were originally sent to lower worlds to do.
You know what I'd like to share with the audience, Scott, is that since I've been doing this with you and doing the Hue, and I have been recognizing these programs that I myself have to deal with that I wasn't really aware of before, but now I'm seeing it, or feeling it or sensing it, whatever it is, and saying, hey, this is a program. I want to delete it. You know,
implantation on this level was not done to you while you were on this planet. So you cannot remove the primary implant yourself, but you can master it. You can keep it shut off and control it, because the Atma has always had, although it doesn't believe this anymore, the real being, the Atma, not the body, has always had mastery over any form of negativity, negative beings in or out of bodies, or negative misuse of advanced technology, because it isn't made of matter. It has dominance over all matter. Once a being starts to recover this awareness, it can be on Earth and walk around here with a hidden government and men in black and all that. You never get bothered by any of it.
Yes.
Because it's a natural form of protection. And as it comes through you, the very people that would attack you get changed by a new energy in that omnipresent force that came into existence just a few years ago, Earth time, and doing something to retire what we call the experiment of evil, not just on Earth, not just for Earth people, but out in the creation itself, because something far more profound has been brought into creation to take its place. The experiment of evil, this good and bad thing in lower worlds, never worked. It's a failed experience that's going to be retired, like the dinosaur, because it doesn't work. More beings got trapped in the lower worlds in that experiment than ever returned. And that just sets the whole creation on stalemate, on stagnation, which is what it's been for billions of years.
It's amazing that it's gone on this long.
Well, here's the thing. Who is responsible for the experiment of evil?
We all are.
You know that now, but you didn't when we first.
Yeah. No, I didn't know that before, but I know now.
What that means is you don't put yourself down or demean yourself. That's just an implant, a negative program to keep you trapped. No. You don't do that. It means that you can come to a point where you can accept the responsibility for your part, one drop of pure energy in a mighty ocean of that energy, among all the others that are awake in it now. You accept your responsibility that you had a hand, since you did not originally come into existence in time and space, but before it, from the source, that you had a hand in creating this. And we all thought it was a great idea. Cattle prod people to, put their feet towards the fires of hell, and then they run the other way. And that's the whole idea. And they develop spiritual logic and, start treating every all life with respect and loving all life. That was the whole point. The lower dimensions, which are fraught with negative and evil and good and bad and all that stuff, like a yo-yo, was originally meant to be gardened, taken care of, until it became mirrors of the upper worlds, the worlds that's beyond what the Buddhist monks call the void, and other organizations off-world know as a void. It's a barrier between the lower dimensions and the upper worlds. In the upper worlds, there's only one energy there. It's called pure positive. It doesn't have positive and negative. It doesn't have cause and effect. Suns and moons and planets and galaxies and gravity are not what affects things there. There's no negative emotions there of any kind. You couldn't take them across the void from the etheric plane into the Atma plane, the first realm of the upper worlds. They will not go across that void. It's there for a reason. The only thing that can cross that barrier is the Atma itself. You and me and everyone else, operating in full awareness as the Atma, not a physical body. You can't go across the void in the upper worlds with one of these. People get out of this when it dies anyway.
Yeah.
Much smarter, they know where it is the other worlds are and the other heavens and how they work before they die. Fear of death is gone. Knowing instead of doubt and fear and uncertainty and speculation and theory takes the place of all those. Knowing. Direct knowing perception. The ability to look into the multiverse from the Atma, from any of its round-sided perceptive capabilities, and know things anywhere, on any planet, and any level. Because it plugs right into the omnipresent first word behind all creation, which is the sound, originally, not sound like on Earth, but much higher. And then you can be anywhere in that and go explore anything you wish. Tyrants don't want you doing that.
You'd find out too much.
Nasty beings that set themselves up as the supreme being in the lower dimensions, making people worship them, don't want people knowing that. No, they don't. Beings that are in countless numbers that know who they are in the upper worlds and who know who they are in the lower worlds, even extraterrestrial races who know this, want to set or work on setting the rest of the lower dimensions free. In the past, when it got so terrible, the 4 lower dimensions, 144 parallel dimensions of galaxies, just in the physical universe alone. 144 more of them in the astral plane, causal, mental, etheric. It's huge. Those were all destroyed. All the Atmas drawn up across the void and rebuilt, and everyone was stuck in it again, along with the experiment of evil. It's been done a number of times, and it's never worked.
Wow.
Same problems exist down the road. So something else had to be brought into creation to take its place to fix this, so that the lower dimensions, instead of being destroyed again, to clean it up, which is what we were headed for, not just the destruction of Earth. They keep the organization and the administrations intact, change the consciousness of the administrators, and the beings set them free from the primary subconscious implants, and then we can actually see where we're going to take this creation collectively, because we all make up the supreme source. Couldn't be any other way. And that's every being in every level, on every planet, in every galaxy, in every dimension in the multidimensional universe. They all live and move and have their being in this omnipresent primordial energy that runs through all of it. That's just something that people have to remember. Not an easy thing to do on a backward planet like Earth. I mean, come on, there's no peers or fellow beings that will even support you in that effort.
Yeah.
Maybe a few. But you're not going to grow up with any support for that kind of way of being.
No.
So when I grew up, when I was forced to be here when this body was 3, 4, something like that, there were 2 episodes, one at 3, one at 5, but they're very important because I awoke as a mature adult being from another world in this body above it. And I wondered, what am I doing on Earth? I knew I was on Earth. I could see the star patterns at night. I knew exactly where it was. And I said, what am I doing on Earth? That was one of the things that started me to recover much that certain tyrants had done to me, that figured that I could never recover. And this was done to everybody on this planet at one time or another. They're from all over the galaxy. There was a great war in our galaxy 500,000 years ago. The bad guys lost, lots of worlds were destroyed, and then a treaty was struck. Earth, this planet, because of where it was situated and all that, became kind of like a Switzerland under treaty. No one race, good or bad, was allowed to dominate this world, and it's been policed ever since. Some beings have tried to break that treaty, were caught doing something diabolical, and were shot down, like that little crash in Roswell, New Mexico, and others. They weren't shot down by our military. It's very highly classified.
So anyone that was shot down, would that mean that they were here and weren't supposed to be here?
Exactly, and about to do something really nasty.
Hmm.
Better lose a ship full of Greys, or maybe even a reptilian or something, or even some Nordics that are working for the bad side, than have a whole planet go up in smoke just for the jealousy and greed of some tyrant beings who are sneaking around breaking a treaty and were caught doing it. They're always caught doing it. If certain forces hadn't been in play here under treaty, which doesn't allow them to directly control governments or take over like tyrants would, this planet would be gone. No life would be on this planet. Nuclear war would have taken care of that long ago. They tried. They tried to set off nuclear weapons here in a nuclear war that's classified, and their launch computers were shut down every time. From space.
Wow.
Or from hidden bases on Earth. We don't have the right to do that and affect life in other parallel dimensions and other worlds people on Earth don't know exist. We don't have that right. We're never going to be given that right. So whatever the governments are convincing people they're all powerful and this and that, they're not. They're in much doubt and fear about everything as the people they dominate. And they don't want to be like that either. The original bylaws of the National Security Act were that they would disclose everything to the people when they felt that they could handle it and not riot in the streets. Fear of, extraterrestrial attack and all that. That was the thinking at the end of World War II. A few years after that, when certain presidents discovered extraterrestrials, a few of them actually met with them, good and bad. It was very scary. So they classified it, 35 countries, to let people, feel comfortable and rebuild the world, baby boomers, and rebuild a damaged war-torn world, which is what they did. Now it's just a bad habit. It's been going on way too long. What's underway in the universe now is going to sweep through this world in such a way, in a kind way, but in a way that cannot be affected by any military industrial complex on this or any planet. And it's coming this way. And the people in those classified arenas know it. And they're not going to be able to control what's happening. They know now it's not meant to harm them, but it is meant to change consciousness. This planet is way overdue for becoming a spacefaring member of a huge organization of world systems, just in the physical universe alone. One of the disadvantages this planet's had is that the poles flip overnight every 100,000 years like clockwork. 6 ice ages in 600,000 years. They aren't slow, gradual events either. When that happens, continental landmasses break up, and on the molten core they counterbalance. And where the seabed rises up, we get new continental landmasses. You got to remember that continental drift taught in schools is just theory. They've just made that up because they didn't have real answers.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go back in the time track or go out with space on ships and with people that are that have the recording of these events and review them to know what really happened. And I've done this, of course. My endeavors are to share this truth, both hidden, whatever it is hidden, that's about our real history as beings, our real history on Earth and the solar system, and our real galactic alliance history. Where we were and who we are in association with those worlds not of Earth, and how we came to be on this planet with no memory. That's the primary focus of my work. So I do these things. I'm not known worldwide like J.K. Rowling or Harry Potter fame or Lord of the Rings or anything like that. Because my work is really not about fame and fortune. Now, I could become that, but it still wouldn't be about fame and fortune then. There's no attachment to the baubles of this planet. Money that people are so nuts about here is artificial. It's not, has no gold or metal behind it in this country or any country I know of on Earth. It's brainwashing. It comes from the bark of a tree made into paper with ink on it. This is legal tender. You can use it to buy stuff. It's the same thing toilet paper is made out of. Really. People are going to make it valuable as long as they agree it's valuable. That's basically all it is. More elite people on Earth control other people through it.
Yes.
In addition to it, and then if you get threatened to take it away, you don't have it, then that's how that system works. And that was not created on planet Earth originally. Money, the concept of money and controlling people wasn't originated in Rome either. It's originated off-world amongst tyrant races and brought. That's it. That's the truth of it. It's a hard pill for people to swallow that are religiously brainwashed and worship something they'll never see, can't know, and too dumb, they think, to know, because they're thinking they're a
They're
body.
told that.
The brain of the body isn't smart enough to know any of that. But the brain that's running that body does have the ability to know that.
I remember when I was young, I asked questions about that, some of the things that they say in religion that didn't make any sense to me. And I was just told, well, your little mind just isn't big enough to understand. You just have to believe.
Yeah, just believe, yeah. The way tyrants rule beings and suppress them is through belief, not knowing, not certainty, belief. Behind belief is doubt, and behind doubt is anger, and behind anger is terror.
Wow, yeah.
Hidden behind all that. And they want to keep that in place. They're not going to.
Yeah.
They're going to be able to maintain the subterfuge they maintain now. The people in control of the classified system on this planet also know this. Speaking to the choir, they know. Their biggest fear is, how do we tell the people what we've lied to them about for so long and not get lynched?
They are afraid of that. I can't say I blame them.
But they know that's not the way this is working. It couldn't ever work that way.
I know.
No one's going to come here and do any harm to people that were themselves subjected to subconscious programming without their permission. That has to be undone. And the people on Earth, classified and unclassified, have to go through a process almost simultaneously. When people are out of their bodies at night, when they go to sleep, they put the body in the trance state called sleep without realizing it. They're out actually exploring his atmos. When they come back, they identify with themselves as a body, get into it, wake it up, and they don't remember anything because they've never grown up learning this is important. They don't use their higher faculties. They don't even know they exist. Exactly. They have belief in them anyway. So they're stuck being a human animal. Here's this eternal being running this body and thinks it's a body that's going to grow old and die. And then, oh my God, I'm dead. Oh, I must be dead. Oh, wait a minute. I'm talking to myself. There's my dead body. Well, who am I? And they get a big shock because they're still conscious, and then they have to deal with that. They take with them at death their state of consciousness, what they imagine, what they believe. No more, no less. So whatever fears they're carrying based on faith, without experience, without knowing, without real wisdom, that's what is going to compel them into the next incarnation. And often it's right back here on Earth and under the body with no memory. Again. This is something that I think most people, when they become aware of it, want to stop doing that.
Oh. I'm one of those people.
You know, and they think that's normal, and it isn't. They have nothing to compare it to. Who can blame people on Earth? None of them have anything to. They don't remember their other lives. Classified people, elite people, people running things behind elected officials. They don't remember, for the most part, any of this either. They've got power passed on to them from their parents. You know, they inherit it and all that. Secret organizations and the like. But they don't remember who and what they are as a being. So they're prone to make countless mistakes in judgment about everything. That's the condition of our world today. This world is simply a manifestation of everybody's collective fears and terrors and lusts and greed and whatever you can think of. That's
all the lower negative emotions are what dominate.
And in reality, we're meant to be of choice, of free will, with discipline and real understanding. Use the imagination to imagine and create only that which will be of an uplifting benefit to all life, not just life on Earth. That won't do it. Life out in the multidimensional universe.
That sounds like such a tall order. People might wonder, how could I possibly do anything that would...
Well, they can't do that from Earth as a body and a brain.
Okay.
Of course they can't. But when they remember who they are, this drop from the source before time and space was created, they can. It's just that simple. They'll never be able to do that from thinking they're a mind or an emotion or a physical genetic body, because they're not. They never were. Never have been. They've just been hoodwinked and scallywagged and backstabbed into believing it and creating it themselves. They send this two kinds of imagination out of their being every day. Most people on earth. I want a great life for my kids and family and this and that, but I'm terrorized the world's going to go down in an Armageddon. It's like shooting yourself. It's like nailing your foot to the floor and running around in a circle thinking you're going somewhere. You can't do it. The imagination is meant, it's not made up in the brain, it's meant to be utilized for the benefit of all life. The source itself, what very advanced races from out in the stars and in higher dimensions call prime creator, the source. The real source of things never suggested or encouraged that we worship it, ever. Only tyrants do that, between it and us, pretending to be that source. And that was allowed for a long period of time. That source itself only requires one thing, and we are in agreement with it, we're part of it, and that is that we respect it and all life. All life in the entire multidimensional creation, without exception. Nothing short of that will do. If you want to return to being a normal being, then you have to become a interdimensional galactic conscious citizen. Beyond the limits of one lifetime, one brain, one body, and get back to being who you really are.
That sounds like a plan to me.
Well, you know, words are words, but until people have the direct experience of what I'm sharing with you, which is part of what my work provides too, particularly in the Say Ray's Agenda book, there are techniques in the back
Yes.
involving the hue and the new ray and the hue that apply to the prologue and all 29 chapters of revealed hidden truth in the book. When people start working with the hue by the higher spiritual law, if you want to call it that, a person starts to connect directly into the source again, and it starts to unravel all the knots they've gotten themselves into to help them come back to the source. And there's a protection that's provided along the way when they're doing, even on a planet like Earth. Words are words, but until people experience it for themselves, they don't know if this is right or true. They only know what they've been taught or forced or terrorized into believing until they die. Let there be light.
Yeah, I was going to say you're getting darker and darker.
Anyway.
Still have light here. It's amazing.
We only have so much time in this little radio show or any place to get real hidden truth across to people. And what I say and how I say it is telepathic. It's not words to entertain people on a video on YouTube. It is an interdimensional doorway through which this new ray and the hue, the first sound behind creation, comes. And it affects the core of the being of each person listening, not the body or the brain, the actual being running that body. That affects the body and the brain in a good way. Begins to get that being awake enough to want to co-create of real free will with beings and things out in the universe that can help them recover, because it's required. The being has to be awake enough to want to co-create getting out of the trap they're in. That's part of it. So a raising of the vibration and awakening of old long past forgotten memories, insights into galactic history, the nature of being, the abilities of the higher faculties, the structure of the Atma or soul, all that has to come back into the awareness. There's no shortcut for that. You're either fully conscious and operating as a co-creative spirit or being with the source, or you're not. Mm-hmm. That's it. When you're not, it just means you're unconsciously creating good and bad, positive and negative all the time with fears and doubts and good wishes and bad wishes until the two energies go out into this energy field that supports all life, plays no favorites, and it will create with you both things you imagine into it. That's what traps the Atma. To itself, to being a body, to losing its awareness. If a person functions in a duality, thinks and imagines and feels in both positive and negative ways, they're grounding their own energy to the earth.
Wow.
Makes it tough for them to be buoyant enough to put the body in the trance state called sleep, like we do on this show. While they're awake, the body goes into the trance state, same way they put it every night, like experts all over the planet, but unconsciously, they're experts. They know how to make that body go to sleep every night, right?
Right.
They're actually leaving the body. They're putting the body in automatic and leaving. There is a kind of a beam of energy between the white core of the Atma and the pineal gland in the center of the brain for the body that runs it on automatic, breathing, heart rate, blood flow, while the being's out exploring. And there isn't any force or power or negative thing that can break that link, because the link is not materialistic in nature. It isn't nuclear. It's not atomic. It can't be broken by nuclear fission or a hydrogen bomb. Cannot break that. So when we go on these journeys, like on this show or in a private session, what we're really doing is putting the body in the trance state, but staying conscious through the process and going out on a journey and bringing the memory back. And it takes a little getting used to for people to understand and be familiar with something they've never done their whole life, maybe not for 10,000 years of lifetimes.
Yes, there was something that was said on Perry's last show when she was talking to you about her experience over time. And I have to say that I have had the exact same experience, in the sense that initially you find yourself, occasionally you will get sidetracked and you have to pull yourself back. As the more you do it, it's just like the practice makes perfect concept, in that the more you do it, the easier it becomes, or the more you're able to use the imagination more effectively.
It's like waking up long forgotten higher faculties and abilities. The journey of an individual Atma through the lower dimensions is billions of years. Some lives are lived in bodies that last 100,000 years or millions.
Wow.
Even in the physical universe, such races exist, but it's not permanent. The only thing that's permanent is the Atma running those bodies, and it runs them by choice until it drops one for some other experience it wants. That's it. So I know of races that are far more evolved than humans on Earth that run entire huge world systems, half the galaxy, the Milky Way. And they've got tall, beautiful, elegant bodies, 10 feet tall. Silver hair like metal, silver metal, but it's soft. And violet eyes. Kind. I know a couple that are the leaders of this whole organization in half the Milky Way galaxy. And they have bodies 3.5 million years old that don't age. That's tinker toy science to these guys. But that's not the point. It's not about the survival of a physical body through eternity. It's about the survival of conscious awareness of the Atma in eternity, the real being, which was never a body. These bodies were developed by scientists on a very, call it a higher spiritual level, from higher dimensions brought down to the physical, and created so that the genomes combine in such a way, if they haven't been tampered with like people on Earth have, where certain genomes have been shut down by tyrants before they were compelled to live here. If it hasn't been messed with, a being can run higher faculties through the adjusted, properly aligned nervous system of the genetics of a higher body form, developed over a long time like this, and they can get in and out of those bodies and run them and have a body stationed on Earth or any other planet to help evolve other life. The body is a doorway for the higher being in that physical reality, because usually the beings in that reality are not often aware of how to see who and what they are. The being running a body like that is an Atma, knows fully aware what he is or she is. So it's a way of functioning to help evolve the lower dimensions into being mirrors of the upper worlds, which was the original idea. That's a failed experiment. What is underway now is designed to correct that for the first time in hundreds of billions of years. something more. It's living on a planet at a time where this change is coming our way. I'm like a herald, a spokesperson from like a riding hanging 10 on the end of a surfboard on a giant tidal wave heading through the universe. And it's not a destructive one, like people fear. It is a benevolent one. And it's a permanent change that cannot be reversed. Fortunately for us, or we'd all be stuck here for another 200 billion years going in.
Please. Yeah, I'm so
enough already, right? It's really, in reality, what's happening is that the creation from the higher worlds that people don't even remember, past this void, this barrier, down in the lower dimensions, down the emotional level, which is astral, down in the physical, has been going on for so long in the way it's been going on that what you call the source behind all life has been stultified or stagnated in creating anything new in any direction, because much of the beings that make up its core, us, are stuck in the lower dimensions, unaware of who they are. You can't move a creation into any new direction or make it finer or make the lower dimensions mirrors of the upper worlds when the great percentage of the beings that make up the core are down here stuck. Doesn't work. There are beings in vast numbers from other worlds now that are committed to and dedicated to now, for the first time, to helping to change something as backward as Earth into a spacefaring, trustworthy, benevolent culture. They got their work cut out for them to change this place. As unconscious as people are here, don't remember anything, have false beliefs in things that will keep them stuck for eternity, and there's just so much that has to be corrected. The best way to correct that is when people are out of their bodies at night, when the bodies are in the trance state called sleep, because they go into a higher expanded state, have more capabilities, and kind beings can approach them and help them unravel this knot. They begin to wake up in the morning with a changed awareness, a freer awareness, more responsible awareness, until they can accept their responsibility in eternity. Bitching about evil will never change it. Creating it with others to change it can change it. This should come across to some people and really ring some bells, because they are a god of eternity, or goddess. Always have been. Never been anything different. You can't evolve in the future in a human body to be telepathic and levitate and all this stuff like people think. No. It's not the body that ever does those kinds of things. It's the being running that body that can do that. And if it's not aware of what it is, it's not going to make that body do any of that. So people got it all backwards about their thinking in that regard. You got to wake up who they really are, that is not a physical body or a brain, in order to run what they have properly. And in order to have association and communication with beings, normal beings from other worlds and other dimensions that do this. It's very simple. So let's go on a little journey. And we do this in every radio show now, something a year ago I never would have dreamed I would be doing. But I got other fellow beings who crossed my path, who requested this kind of thing. And so it began. Obviously, as one being, I don't have the time and space in one body on Earth to do private sessions, which there's no money involved, like we had with you before this radio show, or with a few other beings, or a group private session that we do every Wednesday night. I don't think it's practical to do that with 7 billion people on this planet.
I think so. I couldn't do it.
But I can help with a few people who are key, because they're going to help out of body and at night themselves to help many other beings help set all the other 7 billion free. And that's going to take 10 times that in numbers to help the people that live on Earth to get out of this trap. It's a huge undertaking.
Yes, it is. Yes,
And they have the technology to transform a planet. It's hundreds of millions of years old. Getting rid of microscopic bacteria that attack humans.
Piece of cake, huh?
No sewage systems on their planets. Nothing runs through the water. Nothing's polluted. It's transmuted into other molecular forms for useful products. That's old technology. Getting rid of all the cars on Earth and turning them into useful products in a transmutation device, that's easy. It's not hard. It just takes understanding how molecules are put together and how genes are put together in the twin-stranded DNA. On Earth, people have twin-stranded DNA. On many other human worlds, they have 4.
Oh, wow.
There are beings that have 8. Very advanced.
Wow.
That's just genetic form. That means a much higher faculties can be run through bodies that have 8-stranded DNA. Physical limitations are not there in such forms. They can be dematerialized and stored in the atmosphere or manifested as a solid physical body wherever they're needed. Carry out a mission, then take them back and store them.
Wow.
That's the more advanced way of living as an Atma. We're all doing it anyway, but we're stuck in time and space in an illusion that we're trapped in bodies, so that it takes all this time to run a body. And then it gets old. The genomes are shut down, so you grow old at 80, and then you die. And then you have to get out of the body and confront the fact you're not dead, and then you're stuck with whatever you believe. And that usually compels a person to come right back into the security of a body, incarnate in a new baby's body on this or some other world with no memory. That's not normal, by the way. With that being stated, we'll go into a little bit of a journey so people, if they wish to, can have some direct experience about what it's like to go outside of the body and look at the universe and know things. This involves the creative imagination. It's not made up in the brain. There's nothing in the human brain that can imagine anything. That's not what it's designed to do. There's no motion picture camera in your brain cells or a computer screen or a monitor through which the projector can project on a screen so you can see stuff. It isn't the brain that sees anything. It's the being hovering generally above that body running it that sees things. Daydreaming. Sitting there looking with your eyes out the window, but your physical eyes aren't seeing when you're at the beach 2,000 miles away or at the mountain. It's sitting there in the classroom in a trance. And you're out there looking at this place by being wherever that is you're imagining, without knowing it, without realizing it. That's the way people on Earth are today. And it's not normal, by the way. They're imagining, but unconsciously, not aware of it. They think it's being made up in their brain. It's not. Simple truth. Truth is true for all, or it's not true at all. There is one original vibratory frequency that was sent out to create everything. It's known as the hue, and the hue mimics the actual sound of it. Hue, it sounds like a round hole tone moving through creation. If the people in the Large Hadron Collider in CERN, Switzerland, who found this particle behind all matter, they call the God particle because doesn't operate like matter and it's behind everything. If they could hear it, it would have a sound. And it would be blinding light to physical eyes who could not handle it. Physical eyes are only made to see a small spectrum of light. The speed of light has been determined by people who look out of their eyes with physical eyes. And so they're limited to the concept of what the speed of light can be to what the physical eyes can detect, and that's ridiculous. That's a tiny fraction. You can't even see into ultraviolet and infrared and gamma and X-rays and all these other levels, but they're there. They don't function at the speed of physical light that humans can see, and neither does most of the creation. Is not limited in that way.
So we've had a lot of genomes shut down that are preventing that. Is that correct?
Preventing what?
From seeing
Oh, yeah.
or having certain abilities,
Well, it's fear. It's terror. No, it's fear and terror.
Oh, okay.
That you'll be eaten alive and tortured to death again if you ever recover who you are as a god or goddess amongst the Great One. That's a program that's put there to keep tyrants to control people, use them as slaves, capture them, program them, abuse them. Yeah, it's not a nice. The thing that people are most afraid of confronting is what was done to them before they found themselves on this planet with no memory. It was not pretty. It's hard, but people need to do it, because if they can do it surrounded by safe people who are trained and really well adept at what they're doing, then a person can go through this safely, look at the terrorizing experience. It becomes nothing but a memory after that. It doesn't affect them subconsciously anymore. And all their higher faculties start turning on. Pretty simple. It's a challenge to get anybody up to the point where they can confront that while they're living on Earth. Sooner or later, they're going to have to. In a safe way, of course. But it's not fun. It's not entertainment. No. I would ask everybody to sit down in a chair, be comfortable, close their eyes, lay on a couch, whatever works for them. And breathe deeply. Take several deep breaths in, and when you breathe out, just imagine that you're placing all of the negative fears that you have, fears about your future life, that of the world, age, your sex, husbands, wife, children's, pets, planet Earth, physical bodies on Earth, fear of the future, fear of the past, when you're going to die, what you know when you have to die, all that kind of stuff. Put it aside in like little computer disks or programs. Put them around the carpet, on the couch, around you, car, wherever you are, and turn them off. In other words, just leave them behind with the physical body for right now. Because we're going to be taking the physical body into the trance state called sleep. There's no excuses for anybody to say they can't do this, because everyone does it as an expert every single night without any problem doing it. It's effortless. People put their body to sleep every night. The difference is we're putting the body in the trance state called sleep consciously and staying conscious to leave that form sitting there protected, running on automatic while we go on this journey. You can call this out-of-body travel, a higher form of moving around the grand multidimensional universe is called direct projection. And it just means if you're good at it, you're in one place in this moment, and the next moment you're in another place, seeing and hearing and knowing what's going on. Imagine someone you love and respect, you're grateful they're in your life. It can be a person, place, or thing, but something that makes you smile when you first imagine it. And send out this particular request into the omnipresent first sound behind all life. In the Bible, they call it the word, but it's not a written word, and it's not in the book. It's not in any book. You can have in a book the hue, but you have to know what it is and what to do with it, or it's just letters. So let's just say it's the missing word, revealed. It's the way beings connect to the source itself. Once that process begins, it cannot be reversed. A person will return to the source. And all the knots and subconscious junk that's in the way will be undone along the way, for the benefit of all life, always. Here's what you send out. You can just say it silently in your mind. Safely show me deliberately hidden truth on a grand multidimensional scale, and the much greater knowing of the expansive love within it. Those words have holographic pictures and images associated with them that communicates to the source you want it to co-create with you this result, and it will. This kind of request takes precedence over traps, positive and negative thinking, It is dominant over and superior to such things, because this kind of statement is the way that we create with the source itself, far beyond and before negative things were ever created. I will begin sending out this U tone so people get the experience of it. And I'm going to raise it in pitch, in tone, because what I'm doing is connecting to each of the different dimensional levels where each of you have a form you're running a lifetime made of a different, finer matter than on Earth, and you're not aware of it anymore. Most of you aren't. Some of you might be aware of some of it. And it will be in connection with those sources on those planes, waking them up, getting them more used to working with each other, the ones above them, and passing it down to the ones below, like you here on Earth. If you assume your higher self is helping you, and you just believe this, but you have no evidence that it really is, it's because they really aren't. They have to be awoken too in the lower dimensions. There's an old saying, as above, so below. This also works in reverse. As below, so above. So you see, ultimately, the experiment of evil had to be and has to be retired. Because for that to work, as above, so below, and so below, as above, that kind of distorted stuff in between cannot be in the way, because it distorts that. I'll begin these tones now. They will help to turn off subconscious negative emotions and programs most of you don't even know you have. So you can go out on this journey. Let your body go in the trance state called sleep. The pineal gland in the center of your brain will begin to secrete serotonin and make melatonin, chemicals which will run your body in automatic, keep it breathing, heart working, and all that while you're out. There's an energy that comes through the hue that protects that on Earth, even that's surrounded by all the negative things that are here, that cannot be penetrated by any negative thing, not radio waves, not satellites, not scalar waves, not HARP, not anything. You'll find that out as you do this more. I'll begin these tones now. The body goes into the trance state called sleep. It is in a deep state of rest, really the same state it's in when you put it to sleep at night, but no snoring. That's the body does that when you're completely out and unconscious. It's easy for a person to imagine a beautiful hummingbird fluttering a few feet from front of your face, stationary in the air. You can hear the little hum of its wings. It's easy to imagine yourself walking with bare feet through brown moss, soft under the feet. On each side is tall lavender grass, 4 feet high, lavender colored. And your hands running over the tops of the blades. You can feel it tickling your palms. It's easy. People do it all the time. They don't realize what they're doing. You can imagine standing near a waterfall in a tropical paradise. Big turquoise pools and drops of 3 tiers of waterfalls, and you're sitting down in the jungle dirt. Brown dirt surrounded by giant tropical ferns. And maybe big, whatever those flowers are in Hawaii. You can smell the rich perfume of them. Feel the mist of the water on your face as the waterfall splashes into the pool nearby. People do it. They think they're making this up in their brain. This isn't true. The brain in the trance state basically is on pause. It's the way the atma that runs the body gets higher energy into it to keep it alive and running, because human bodies do not run themselves. You've got to keep that human body from irritating you and causing you to lose focus. That's coming from fear. Ignore it. Just as easy as it is for you to imagine a hummingbird or being at the beach or in the mountains, you can imagine that you are a sphere of light hovering above your physical body, sitting in the chair or lying down wherever you are on Earth, listening to this radio show. And you can look down on it fondly that this is a body you're running on Earth, and that you are something that's running the body, not the other way around. The body does not run the atma. The atma runs the body. The atma is not made of physical matter. That atma looks up, finds itself hovering above, in the atmosphere, 5,000 feet above where they live, looking down through the roof of the building or car, or wherever they are out in nature, listening to the show, and they can see a spherical form of themselves hovering above the body, yet they're up in the atmosphere at the same time. And you can move between conscious awareness of both in an instant. Find yourself looking up and wondering what it's like to look at Earth from out in space, without a ship, in a form of energy that does not need to breathe, is not vulnerable to solar radiation or cold or anything like that. And look down and see the Earth below you. Everyone's seen shots from the space shuttle or the Hubble telescope of what Earth looks like with its polar ice caps and oceans and land. There's the moon with its craters all over it, circling the Earth, always showing us the same face because it does not revolve on its axis. It just stays like that all the way around. You can see the sun way off in the distance, and you can see billions of stars around you in every direction. And you can see what appears to be the black void of space. All that dark area between galaxies and between stars. Scientists on Earth now know they call dark matter is actually energy, packed full of energy. You just can't see it with physical eyes. It's at a higher frequency. But as the atma hovering in orbit, the spherical you can see it. And it's a white field of light with a golden tinge to it, connecting everything together through the entire void of space. Planets are floating in it. The moon's floating in it. You as an atlas floating in it. Hold that vision and I'll be right back. I've got somebody I want to talk to out here. Now we're back. At least I am. Somebody I want to introduce you all to here is a being called Ambassador Turelian. He is the ambassador. He's human. Not like humans on Earth. He's the ambassador of the Se race, S-E-R-E-S. That is a race of humans, 18 to 25 feet tall, who visited Earth millions of years ago, and many other worlds in many galaxies, from the physical through 144 parallel dimensions up into the astral planes. They seeded life, developed higher genetic forms like human, so that Atmas like themselves and others could run them, play in the lower dimensions, and begin to develop these lower realities into mirrors of the upper worlds. That was the original idea. He is here, floating in space with us, looks like us, bit brighter perhaps, and you can still look down on the Earth and see the polar ice caps and the oceans and the land. And from up here, you don't see cities, you don't see barriers or fences between countries. It's one atmosphere around one globe floating in space with a moon orbiting it. And we're going to do something I've done before, but we're going to do it again before we go play into more vast areas of the multiverse, because getting grounded in this stuff is very important visually. Now, Turelian is going to send an energy field out in front of us. There's Gail, myself, my friend Michael, who called earlier on the phone, is here. And you're going to find Turelian and several what are called master teachers from far beyond Earth are hovering here too, to witness what we do and to participate in it. Members of the Galactic Alliance, the Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds, which makes up half of this entire galaxy, along with the race I think I mentioned earlier, that have bodies 3.5 million years old that run the other half. And they've recently joined in a harmonious collective. So this galaxy is now run by predominantly benevolent races, highly evolved, and the few tyrant races are on their way out. You won't be having some of these negative ETs coming to Earth anymore. They haven't for decades. So you might as well give up the idea of little grays abducting people, because that's ancient history now. They don't do that anymore. We're in space. You can see a field of white light with a gold tinge connecting everything. It runs between you, the real you, not the body on Earth, and everyone else. It runs right through us. We're moving through it. Passes through the white core of our being as a spherical entity, without hesitation, without resistance. Now, you're going to see an energy come from us, Turelian and myself, and it's going to pass over the Earth and the moon like a heat wave in the desert. And then you're going to see the Earth again, but it's a different Earth and a different moon. This Earth has no polar ice caps. It has one continent centered over the equator from the left hemisphere to the right, quite large, extends about, oh, I don't know, 2/3 into the northern hemisphere and 2/3 into the southern. And down on the southern end of it, there's a continent like that. And down on the southern end, South Pole's here, it's about 1/3 of the way down, is a half moon shaped, emerald colored, sandy beach. And on the other side of the planet, you can see right through it is the atmosphere. There's another continent centered over the equator, 2/3 its size, not quite as big. And the moon, same place the old moon is that you're used to, has oxygen and atmosphere and clouds and lakes, almost like small oceans, and land, 5 domed cities clear over golden pyramids, quartz capped. One on the backside you can't see. This Earth and this moon, alive with life, is in a parallel dimension, 3rd molecular time rate up out of 144, from the Earth you're used to knowing. Same space, different rate of vibration. It's a prototype. It's been here for ages. Master teachers from around the multiverse, not just from physical worlds, but higher realities, come here. People in ships come here from the Galactic Alliance and land in a certain place we're going to visit. They can go on excursions or missions from here. By changing their molecular time rate, they become part of the Earth world we're used to, and they can walk around and take care of certain things unseen if they wish, invisible to the people on the planet and to their technology. They are not tyrants. They're very advanced, kind beings. You can see that Turellian and all of us are like planets orbiting a sun. Not because he is worshipped, but because he keeps a focus for us to stay centered on getting something constructive from this journey and not just going out willy-nilly in the universe and bouncing off walls like a pool table ball, running around from corner to corner hitting other balls. No, this is focused. And he's going to come down into the atmosphere, and we're going to move around him and go down in the atmosphere with him through the beautiful pure oxygen atmosphere, no pollutants whatsoever, no nuclear radiation on the planet, no polluted water. The smells are incredible. And we're going to come down to the middle of this long continent. And as we approach this emerald green beach, you see that it is half moon base shaped, about a mile that way. And you're going to hover right above the sands and look at them with a photographic vision. You're going to see that these particles of sand are polished. They're little emeralds, very pure. And you're going to feel your bare feet sink down into the sand. It's warm and cooling as energy that's green comes up your legs. And then it goes past where legs appear below you into the white core of your being, because you're a sphere hovering above the sands. There's Turellian and me and Gail and others, all having the same experience. Several master teachers that have well versed in this are also putting their feet in the sands because they gain something more each time. This green energy goes up into the white core of your being and then goes out into a layer around you that is green, plugs itself into these self-luminous teardrop shapes, their higher faculties, turns several of them on. Then you find your feet withdrawing from the sand, and you are a sphere hovering above it. You can see a brown path 3 foot wide, and it goes straight back into the jungle of giant palm trees and prehistoric looking ferns. About a mile in, there's a white, you can see a white, looks like a white circular floor of some kind. And way up in the distance is one snow-capped mountain. You can see a waterfall cascading down a cavern opening 2/3 up its way towards the summit. And we're going to go and fly as Atlas above this jungle, following this brown path, until we come to a white marble floor, maybe 100 feet across. And there is lavender 4 foot tall grass surrounding this white marble floor, and there's a statue of a woman made of quartz standing on a pedestal in the middle, facing the brown path back towards the green emerald beach. You're going to feel feet, bare feet, come to touch this white marble floor. You can feel it under your feet, and now you can smell gardenias and lilacs, blend of beautiful flowers, and you can see little birds with long V-shaped split tails. They look like blue jays, except bigger bulbous blue eyes that wrap partially around their forehead. They have rainbow-colored bodies, gradually blended, so they're just beautiful. Some hummingbirds are like that. And twin sets of wings, bird wings, one above the other, like a dragonfly, and they're able to fly and hover in the air like a hummingbird. And one of them comes up to each one of you and hovers in front of the Atma you are. And you feel like you have a face looking at them. But when you look above this bird hovering, this beautiful bird, its blue eyes looking right into the heart of your being, if you look up, you'll see there's an Atma above it running that bird body, a conscious Atma, doing this to gain the experience in a bird that has a much higher genetic structure. It's telepathic, it has a photographic memory, has vocal cords, and can speak with you. And they have beautiful singing voices. So they begin to sing in front of each of us in 5-6-part harmony, just beautiful sound. All you do is listen. This is a gift about how to harmonize between beings all over creation. In this form, any being can speak any language, including these Atmas running these bird bodies. So they're going to talk to you telepathically to say that you're welcome here and to let you know that many worlds like this exist in the many parallel dimensions of the physical universe before it even becomes what is known as the astral plane. These birds know this, so you should too. Then they fly away. When you look at this angel statue of this woman, the beautiful transparent dress, it is carved quartz, flawless. 2 big angel wings, looks like angel wings, extended up behind the back. But this is not angelic. She's not an angelic person from Earth or anything like that. The wings represent the ability of the Atman to fly free of fetters of bodies. This body form, which is 10 foot tall, standing on this, 2 foot by 2 foot square blue lapis lazuli. It's a kind of blue stone with gold lace through it, polished, and she's standing on it. Bare feet, with her hands out beside her head, with a blue light coming from them, glowing. When you look down at the beach, all the way down that brown pathway, you see the green emerald sand light up glow about a foot above it. This is what was charging the sand we experienced at the beginning of this journey when we put our feet into it. This woman is 10 feet tall. She has a longer neck and longer arms, longer fingers, very elegant than human beings on Earth. She has violet eyes, silver hair like silver metal, but soft. You could touch it. And when you look in through the face, you go up above and look right into the face, she has a gold band around her forehead with an upside down, faceted, emerald green stone, teardrop shaped. And you can see it glowing. When you look in through the forehead and the face, you see a woman right behind the surface of the quartz. The actual woman this statue, this device, this interdimensional doorway represents. And we're going to go inside this statue as Atmas, not made of matter. We're moving right inside it. And you find yourself in a vast green chamber. And she is standing there, a real woman from another world, greeting you, hovering in the air. And so you find yourself, the form you're used to on Earth, about 30, perfectly fit, with Atma hovering above it. And she extends her forefinger to yours, and you just touch it. You're going to get a shudder of green energy. And she's telepathic, and she's telling you she is from a race called Xeontranomus, from a planet called Xeontranomon 1, which is halfway across the Milky Way galaxy. It is a planet with 3 moons full of life and a trinar sun system. Big sun, smaller sun, and a little smaller sun. Revolving around the big one, planets revolve around that. And her husband, her significant other, and her have bodies of this form. They've run for 3.5 million years. When you look above this beautiful woman, you'll see a sphere, beautiful radiant Atma running it. This device was put here on this parallel dimension on Earth, which is called Lemuria to this day. It's in a 3rd parallel dimension of the physical universe. It did not flip its poles 100,000 years ago like it did in our world we know. They never flipped. It's still called Lemuria, and the continent on the other side of the planet is Atlantis. Not the one that people know about, either one of them on Earth today, much further back. And in this parallel dimension, this has been a protected environment. Beings come from here and into our Earth world and go back and forth all the time. It's among the people that come from this world and from other planets and from other realities that have kept Earth from destroying itself, or we would all be dead here or not in bodies anymore. Move up above her body and above yours and feel a connection of green energy between the white core of her being and yours. There's a telepathic communication taking place. And what she's doing is simply elevating the energy field of your Atma with a green type of energy, which has to do with memory, has to do with remembering who you are in eternity, the lives you've lived that are predominantly full of wisdom on many of the worlds and other realities before you found yourself incarnated on Earth with no memory. Then find yourself suddenly hovering above the angel statue, this angelic type statue. It is not an angel. It is kind and benevolent, most certainly, but not of an angelic order. And you can see this statue is quartz once again. When you look further inland from the green emerald beach past this white marble floor, you see that the jungle trees gradually become tall grasses, and then they become blue-green forest trees. They surround a huge clear dome city nestled at the base of a large snow-capped mountain. And we're going to go up above that dome city instantly with Terrellian and myself, and you're going to look down and see that inside this dome city are 3 gold quartz-capped pyramids. They are certainly devices. And between them at the base is a smaller, long, oval, ivory-colored dome building. Beautiful landscaped yards and little lakes and little white marble road pathways winding throughout the countryside. In the background of the dome is a artificial, I don't want to say artificial, but it's a small mountain range with waterfalls and lakes, rivers coming down from it. That's designed for the interior of the people who live here just for aesthetic reasons. Obviously, they can see the big mountain outside as well. When you look up through the dome, you can see a waterfall cascading out of a cavern opening 2/3 the way up towards the summit of this mountain. It's an emerald green blue water that's flowing and dropping thousands of feet down into the blue-green jungle, where it becomes a river that runs around the far side of the dome, winds down the mountainside, down the lower plateau, and becomes a river that runs near the lavender grass surrounding this angel statue, this crystal statue of a woman. And near the embankment of that, you see what look to be very tall weeping willow trees, lining a lazy green river that goes out to the sea. And the leaves on the trees have a blue-green kind of glowing effervescence. Things are luminous here. Now you're up by the waterfall again, watching it drop down behind the dome, and you look at the far western side of the dome, And there's 3 blue circular landing pads and 3 Galactic Alliance scout craft parked there. Disc-shaped, cobalt blue, clear, transparent tops. People from the Alliance come here. Master teachers from the multidimensional universe come here. They come here to watch over Earth. If you look at this waterfall, there's a cavern opening above it. Kind of a smooth-sided half-sphere cavern opening. There's little circular lights all the way down inside. That cavern, ships go in and out of it. Beings can go in and out of it. Opens inside a large cavernous chamber inside Mount Shasta in Northern California in the United States. It is an extraterrestrial base, kind beings, under treaty that was placed there in 1908. If they had not been there, we would all be dead from nuclear war right now. We are not alone in the universe. We never have been. The destiny of this planet was significantly altered a few years ago to that of an unexpected uplifting transformation from a past prophesied Armageddon and end of the world nonsense. We're not going to be allowed to do that. On another journey, we will go through that cavern and come into the Mount Shasta base and meet some people there. For now, find yourself in orbit above this parallel dimension Earth and its live moon. And then you're going to see this heat wave effect, and you're going to see the Earth you used to with polar ice caps and that barren moon with craters all over it. Then you're going to see yourself hovering in the atmosphere at 5,000 feet, looking down through your roof or wherever you are at another sphere that looks just like you, hovering above your physical body. And you're going to smile fondly down on that extension, that physical form you're running. And you're going to feel a green energy pass through you into the top of your head, the physical body, and the pineal gland, and it's going to go out and radiate a gentle green energy through you in all directions. And that green energy connects to 3 different pyramids that are stationed on Earth now. 2 at the bottom of Earth's deepest oceans, and 1 inside a mountain, hidden in the Himalayas. And there, it's amplified. And then it goes out from there to the surface of the world and out into space. It is a continuous flowing energy. It is one aspect of the new ray in the hue. The new ray in the hue only works one way. It cannot be manipulated by positive and negative thought or emotions or imagination. It is designed to do one thing. It can exist in the lower dimensions, but it is not made of matter from them. It cannot be affected by matter or beings in the lower dimensions. And they're turned on. Bring this memory and the awareness of this journey to your physical self that is in the trance state called sleep. And when you're ready, open your eyes. For those listening, that is the way Atmas see into the multiverse and know things. First, it's practical. They have to put the body on automatic and rest it, and then get out of it and go in their higher faculties in real state to know things. They can bring back higher awareness to the physical body. But if you don't bring it back consciously, that physical body will never know anything. Very important. So I want to leave that with the listening audience for their benefit. And after all, this cost them nothing. No monetary system on Earth was involved in any of this. So you might as well be benefited by it. And because Gail's going to be nice enough to put this up on her YouTube channel, when I send it to her, that way you can play it back and go on the journey again. Sometime when you can set aside a little piece of time where you won't be disturbed and just go through it and pick up on details. You'll see much during the journey that I didn't describe, and you're supposed to. That's the whole point. Once you've established the basis of what these realities look like, you can go back to them and explore them gain benefit from, if you wish to. All right. Anything you would like to say, Gail, or ask of your audience, or ask of me before I end this session?
I would just like to tell our listening audience that I hope they take advantage of this, because I have had some wonderful experiences since I started doing this. And I would really, really encourage them to have the same thing happen to them, because it will. If you just will take the time and do it.
Thanks, Gail. Yeah, and the thing of it is, remember, you're working against subconscious programming, both that you came to this earth with, you don't remember, and from all the negative influences around you. Don't be a sucker. Don't pay attention to that. Stop adding your imagination to things in fear. No matter what the world looks like, just don't contribute to it, and you'll start recovering higher faculties. The higher faculties do not work with fear, doubt, speculation, and revenge, hatred, anger, any negative emotion, because they're all artificially created. They are not part of normal human emotions. They are artificially created by tyrants and implanted in people. All beings have the ability to master this once they start to wake up to what was really done to them. Then they can take control.
You start recognizing them. You start saying, wow, where'd that come from? You know?
Yeah.
And that's how you.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what religious belief or persuasion a person is. If they bring the hue in the right way, the new ray in the hue in particular, which didn't exist before 7.5 years ago in the entire multidimensional creation, even at the source, it's new. It's designed to do one thing, and that's to retire evil as an experiment in the lower dimensions, replacing it with something that works. What's important is that each individual start to co-create of real free will in this direction, because they can. And countless billions of beings are involved in this now. So you just be adding your voice in an uplifting, positive direction. It's your choice.
Come join us. We would love to have you with us.
Take care. Well, next time I'll stop the recording, then I'll send you the session. Wish everybody pleasant dreams, especially when they're awake.